Hello and welcome to a Saturday night edition of the Managing Madrid podcast. This is your host, Kiyan Sabani. It is currently 1 a.m. Madrid time. I have just walked in the door from Santiago Bernabeu, where Mehdi Hassan graciously and patiently has waited for me to log on. And sorry to keep you waiting, Mehdi. Took a little bit longer to get home tonight, but we're going to break down a 2-0 win over Celta Vigo. And a really fun Camavinga performance, a really fun Ceballos performance, and more points. More points now that the league is done. Real Madrid are winning now. So we're going to break it all down. Mehdi, how you doing?
Hey, Kian. Thanks for having me, as always. I'm doing great. It's a very chilled Saturday afternoon here in Toronto, just a day after Eid. And also Eid Mubarak to all the Muslim fans who are listening to this or watching this, or whoever is celebrating. It's good. Life's good. Nothing out of the ordinary that we didn't expect. Everything just business as usual. Real Madrid dealing with these games as well as they should, and happy with the team's performance.
Love it. Life is good. I love that message. I love the shirt, Mehdi, too. Very summery, and also I love the Starbucks iced latte or whatever you got going on there. Yep. Great Starbucks advertising. All right. So this was a pretty fun game, all things considered, for a game that, where the season is over. Ironically, like these games where the season is over has been some of the more fun games. We had the big win over Valladolid. We have this one tonight, and it seems like maybe it's because the team is performing without pressure, knowing that the league is done. I don't know, but as Courtois kind of alluded to after the game, where he said, he has to say that they're going to try to put pressure on Barcelona until it's mathematically impossible. He has to say that. But he also basically said that, look, these games are really used for momentum for the Champions League games. And that's how we're treating it. So players are getting confidence. This is the best Asensio has looked in a long time, Mehdi. This is a huge stretch now. I lost track of how many games he's put together good performances, but off the top of my head, I believe this goes back to Barca, right?
Yep.
The second leg of the Copa, or was it even another one before that? I don't know. Plus both Chelsea games, plus everything in between. He's looked great.
Yeah, Asensio is really looking great. And just to piggyback on the Courtois comments, yes, they have to politically say it that we want to, as long as it's mathematically possible, we would like to put pressure on Barcelona. But I'm pretty sure they're not really in the mood to put pressure on Barcelona right now. Their mind is on something else. But I think which is related is, even as a fan or as covering Real Madrid for Managing Madrid, I have also given up on the league a long time ago. And but there is one little concern, I think, for which Real Madrid has to finish at least second in LaLiga, because it's the parts of the next year's Champions League. I'm pretty sure no one at Real Madrid's dressing room is even paying attention to that right now. But just as a side note, I think that is important that we at least finish second, because Atletico are really creeping up on our necks. And if they beat Barcelona, I think they keep that 2-point gap with us. So Real Madrid are definitely not going to be in part one of the next year's Champions League draw. They would like to be in at least part two. Not in part three. And I'm also not entirely sure how that's determined, if that's determined only strictly by league position, or if there is some factors of the UEFA coefficient in it as well. But overall, I think, these performances, not only they are, good for momentum, but they're also important to keep our place, at least on second place. And the momentum factor is obviously true. We have, there are 3 games. If we win those 3, we win 2 trophies, and nobody's really going to care about Barcelona's league title if we win both of those. So, yeah, these games are important in that regard.
Yeah, I mean that. It's true that nobody would care about Barcelona's titles if we were actually to win the double in that sense. But we are a long way of that still. We haven't won any trophies yet, apart from the Club World Cup and all that stuff. But I'd be really disappointed if we finish third for obvious reasons. It may not matter too much in the grand scheme of things. I don't remember exactly how the pots work. I do know that if you're Well, let me just look it up just so I make sure I don't get it wrong. I feel like that would be responsible. So it is coefficient related, Mehdi. So pot 2, 3, and 4 are ordered by the UEFA club coefficient of each team. The UEFA coefficient is a ranking system used to value so the 8 highest ranked teams in the coefficient go into pot 2. The next highest in pot 3. I believe Real Madrid.
Yeah, then we're fine.
I actually don't know if it actually matters from a standing perspective.
Yeah, then it's good. Then it's good. Yeah, then it's good.
So I know that this podcast is going to be shorter than usual for a post game, although I did forget to mention that there is a part 2 to this podcast. It is Castilla Corner. The Castilla Corner crew are going to break down Castilla's brutal loss today. And so that's coming up part 2. Stick around for that. So part 1 is just the post-game show. It's going to be a little bit shorter than usual because we only have about 30 minutes to cram things in. And I think, Mehdi, the most important thing to do would be to start with, in my opinion, the best player on the field. And that was Eduardo Camavinga. Where do you want to start with his performance?
Well, yeah, also, although like Asensio got the official man of the match, I wouldn't have been surprised if Camavinga got that. Like, this guy is insane for someone like for left back, which is not even his real position. He's doing extraterrestrial stuff. I know Yash put out a really nice graphic with the summary of the Camavinga performance with all the take-ons and where he has made those progressive carries and all. This is like your dream left back for Real Madrid, who can do these things with such great left wing options for Madrid. But with Camavinga, what I'm sensing, what is going to happen is we have kind of gotten desensitized to Vinicius. Like what Vinicius does week in, week out, it's highlight reels for many other players. But with Vinicius, we have like kind of gotten used to that. He's going to get behind the right back with that shoulder drop. He's going to pass it back to Benzema. These are like very, very good things that he does completely normally week in, week out. Camavinga is becoming like that. Like every time he plays, there has hardly been a not so good performance from Camavinga in the recent past. He has mostly been played out of position due to Real Madrid's constraint with the left back position, but still the performances that he is coming up with, it's just unbelievable. And you see, you've just put out the graphic on the screen right now. If you see like his passing in both halves, the ones in gray are like regular passes, non-progressive passes on the leftmost chart. If you see like his passing volume in both halves of the pitch, that speaks volume. Like that speaks so much about what kind of an important figure he has become. I was just listening to you and Lucas I was out on my way back home. I was just listening to you and Lucas's mailbag. You guys had a Camavinga section there as well. Like at this with respect to the Manchester City game, but at this point in time, I just want him to play. It doesn't really matter if he's playing as a midfielder or a left back. His inclusion in the starting lineup raises Real Madrid's floor by multiple folds, and he has just become that player at the age of 20, and it's a blessing to have him. I jokingly tweeted out that he wears number 12, has curly hair, and he started at Real Madrid as a teenager. So we shouldn't be surprised that he's just playing like the best left back of all time. So yeah, all great Camavinga things, and so important in this final stretch of the season.
Yeah, I think what's amazing about this is that the whole left back thing, it kind of went through like from this emergency thing to like now there's a real argument. Well, like if everyone's healthy, where do you put him? Because again, I said many times his best position is still central midfield, but one of the things, like let's like forget about all the flashy stuff for a second, okay? Let's just talk about like some of the other stuff that may have gone unnoticed. The flashy stuff is like he's doing roulettes under pressure. He's nutmegging players. He's doing slide tackles in transition. He had like 6 different standing ovation sequences in the Bernabeu tonight. It was crazy. They absolutely loved everything about him. The last play where he's sprinting back in transition, because I think Nacho gave the ball away. He has so much ground to cover. He's so far behind the play, and he just zoomed past. I don't even remember who it was, but in you slide tackle, and everyone was going crazy in the stadium, just applauding that effort. That stuff aside, like the obvious stuff aside, which is like he's so fun to watch. There were so many sequences tonight where he just makes a simple overload or an underload. It provides Ceballos with a through ball. It provides Vinicius someone to link up with. And even if he doesn't get the ball, it just drags defenders away. And there's like a real conversation, Mehdi, to be had, because Mendy doesn't really make runs like that. And Nacho, we really love Nacho, but he's not, and he does like have his moments offensively. He's had them notably against Liverpool. He actually got up the field. But he's not going to do that every sequence, and he's not going to be really efficient with it every sequence. There's like a real argument to be made, like if everyone's healthy, including Mendy and Nacho, do you put him there just for the offensive help that Vinicius would get? Maybe next year you don't have to have this conversation if Fran Garcia is playing more often, or at least as an option that you can put on, then you don't have this conversation as much. But there's like a real argument to be made, Mehdi, like if everyone's healthy, do you actually consider this against City, for example?
I completely do. If even if Ferland Mendy is fit, I will start Camavinga at left back against City, because for me, Kian, even I have, I think, had the same discussion about Fede Valverde a while back, that these positions, they don't really exist as per that huge the Athletic article that came out, that there are now positions are now getting replaced by roles. So Camavinga has a specific role in the team which he is executing to perfection right now, and especially how Real Madrid build up, how Real Madrid approach their game in the final third. I would like to argue that a fullback back is no less important. A very qualified, a very efficient fullback, what Camavinga is becoming, it is no less important than the role of a defensive midfielder. Good for Real Madrid that even if, which is Camavinga's best position, a central midfielder or like a defensive-minded central midfielder, if I may say, even if we don't play him there, we have coverage there, but our coverage is really thin at fullback. And if he's the guy that is giving us the best option here, I think then we have to say that that's his most productive position, again, quote unquote. So we have to play him in that role.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things he actually does at left back, he can do from central midfield and vice versa, like you said. I mean, some of the stuff, though, that's really impressive at left back that he's doing now is like his one-on-one individual defending has been really good. Like Solari and Vasquez, like they didn't get anything on him on that side. And so one-on-one individually, defensively, he was really good. His ball carrying was fantastic again, like as it always is. Obviously, that one sequence that stood out in the second half where he drops his shoulder, gets past one man, nutmegs another one, I think, and then the through ball to Vinny. He also had the most touches of anyone on the field tonight, 113. Passing was good overall. 5 tackles, a couple interceptions, clearance, block shot. Great game from Camavinga. The other one, to me, the 3 standouts were him, Asensio and Ceballos. We already spoke about Asensio. We spoke about Camavinga. I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to bring manager, which is Yash Thakur, into the equation again, because he also put out a similar chart about Ceballos. I'm wondering if you want to speak about Ceballos' performance.
Yeah, Ceballos, once again, as you tweeted, like his counter pressing is off the charts, and I really like this one particular trait of Ceballos, that you bring him from minute 1 or like minute 80, minute 60. He always immediately, the moment he gets onto the pitch, he starts chasing the player who has the ball, and that's really great because our pressing, for whatever reasons, is still not elite. And if you have those kind of players, intelligence players who can pick those right moments to press and press really aggressively like Ceballos does, that's really a great thing. His passing has been great. As you can see on the screen, close to like 96% completion. And it's not like that he played 20 passes. He played close to 100 passes, 86 passes. So great job once again from Ceballos. And in terms of ball progression and in terms of ball progression with passing and carries, if you want to profile or project Ceballos onto another player, he is the closest to Toni Kroos that we have. So it's always good whenever he is used in Toni Kroos's position on the left-hand side of the central midfield. That's what Carlo Ancelotti did in this game. And yeah, excellent game. These games are, again, for building the momentum to the final stretch of the season. The kind of performances that we would like to see from these players, they're giving exactly those performances, and it's really great to see.
So you also mentioned some of the defensive stuff there and the counter pressing. I was blown away. I mean, I lost count of how many times like Real Madrid lost the ball and then he pops up and wins it back. Again, we've said this about Ceballos so many times. No matter where Real Madrid lose the ball, he pops up and just wins it back. And it doesn't matter where it is and where he is. He just somehow pops up there. I don't know how he does this. Like he teleports. There was one play in the first half today where he plays a really nice through ball to Vinny on the left side. And then the ball comes over the right. Real Madrid lose on the right. And then he wins it on the right, like seconds later. And I don't know where he came from, but he just has a great knack. It's kind of like, you know, when Dennis Rodman just always knew where to get a rebound. Ceballos always just knows where to pop up. It's super impressive. So I did lose track, but Yash kind of outlines it here. 3 successful tackles, 5 true interceptions, 7 ball recoveries in the clearance. So the numbers are there. I thought Ceballos was fantastic tonight.
Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. And like I had that very like quote unquote interesting / weird stat out that Ceballos is the player that finds Vinicius before a progressive carry 15 times. That was a month back. And I think that still is true. Like I see some people retweeting this today because there was this connection between Vinicius and Ceballos to see once again. And yeah, it was just a great Ceballos performance. There are some reports emerging that Madrid has called him for a renewal situation, and I hope he gets renewed.
I do too. The whole midfield thing is such a crazy situation right now. Ceballos, Modric, Kroos, you might all renew all of them. But yeah, Ceballos to me has earned it, man. He has really earned a renewal. There's no question to me. He's so valuable. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Militao, his 7th goal of the season. 6 of those 7 goals have been headers. He's quite an important contributor to being a presence on set pieces. You know, we've had so much conversations in the past few years of like our set pieces are not good. Side note, by the way, Asensio's deliveries on the set pieces were also good. That's something we haven't mentioned yet. In addition, also to one thing that I've been critical about in the past is Asensio's dribbling. He doesn't dribble enough. He doesn't break lines enough, but his dribbling was also very good today as well. But shout out to his set piece deliveries too. Excellent. Militao scores from the set piece. Any notes on Militao?
Yeah, Militao's like, I think this was the best among all the goals he has scored in his entire Real Madrid career, because this was like a devastating header. This was like a Sergio Ramos, Cristiano Ronaldo kind of a header. Like the way he attacked the ball, and the Spanish commentator like went golazo immediately, because it was a golazo. It just wasn't a regular headed goal. It was a great goal. And the good thing about this goal was like, even if Militao had missed it, I think Rudiger would score, because if you see the replay like from side on, both of them like do like move their head like as if they're heading the ball parallelly. Militao and Rudiger like rose to the same level, but if somehow Militao had missed it, Rudiger would have scored it anyway. Funnily enough, I think Militao gave the ball away right after scoring, and like Celta took a break on from there, and they almost scored. But yeah, again, a great Militao performance. The team's defense was pretty good overall. From a few moments here and there, it was pretty manageable. Nothing too fancy from Celta either. So yeah, another like solid 8 out of 10, or like even more, I would say, like probably a 9 out of 10 performance from Militao because he scored.
Well, so on the note of the Militao giveaway, Courtois was more critical of Real Madrid's performance than we're being on this podcast, where after the game he said we were actually pretty poor and we need to take care of the ball better. And I don't think he's wrong in saying that. I think those Militao moments are forgiven right now because, one, we won, and two, he's been arguably the world's best defender, and you can forgive a few lapses here and there because he's just otherworldly most of the time. I think Rudiger could have been a little bit better on the ball. I think even like Camavinga and Ceballos did have their moments where they were a little bit careless, but ironically, and this is a trait about them, is that after they lost it, they immediately sprinted back and to win it and make up for their mistake. Actually, the first goal we scored, that was actually a situation where Camavinga loses the ball, sprints back, wins it back, gets it to Ceballos. Ceballos with a brilliant through ball to Vini. Asensio with a really great off-ball run too. He drops his shoulder and sends the defender the wrong way, and he pops up and scores. But I do think those moments where we give the ball away, you don't really want to be doing that against Manchester City, right? We have horrific memories of that, Mehdi.
Yes. One thing about our overall passing that I would want to mention is, our players have mentioned it too, Ancelotti has mentioned it too, is that the pitch just looked terrible today. Like this is unacceptable. I don't know if you saw Xavi's quote today about the grass. Like I read it.
I thought it was a joke at first.
I thought it was a joke
because it seemed like too close to a parody. Like, you know what I mean?
It looked like a joke to me. So like I tweeted about that if Mourinho was the manager of Real Madrid right now, in the next Clásico, Barcelona would have to play inside a cornfield after Xavi's comments. But the thing is, and like someone was saying that, what are you saying? Real Madrid players complain about the pitch too, but that's different. We're complaining about our own pitch that our own club is not able to fix. It's not like we're complaining about away stadiums. So this has to get fixed. This has to get fixed pretty quick. This is getting embarrassing. Even like I was watching on the TV, the pitch looked terrible, and in the some of the close-up replays you can see how much the ball was wobbling. Real Madrid's home stadium just cannot have this kind of a pitch because our game is very much position oriented. We can be decisive in little moments where one bubble of the ball can disrupt a really significant opportunity. I think Asensio got a really nice opportunity in the left in the second half that he himself fell off because the ball had just bounced before he struck it. It was in a pretty good position. Probably it could have been another goal. So definitely you do not want the pitch in this kind of condition against Manchester City. It has to be good. I don't know how they're going to do it because we have games. Probably they'll try to do something during the week of the Copa final. That's what the club plans to do. On a more lighter note, probably you don't want to fix it for Manchester City because they too are a very position-oriented side. Keep it as is, or make it even worse that Pep only has to play long balls from the back and see where it goes. But yeah, I'm obviously joking regarding that. Yes, ball playing was a little bit off, to summarize, but the pitch has to improve.
I could be mistaken, but I believe Xavi even complained about the sun. Is that correct?
Yeah, he said, so this was his exactly what he said. He said that the sun, we are not used to playing in the sun. We usually play in the evenings. And he immediately followed that sentence up with that these are not excuses. Which makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you can do about the sun, the largest object in our solar system.
Yeah, everyone plays with those Edgar Davids sunglasses, maybe.
Or you should be given the Sid's blue light glasses to play with. Maybe that'll help. Oh, here's the quote. Quote, "I'm criticized for everything. Nothing bothers me. No matter how many memes I get, the sun bothers me." That's the part where when he said that, I was like, that has to be parody account. That has to be. Okay. Yeah. All right, enough Xavi talk. To be quite honest with you, regarding the pitch at the Bernabeu, I'm far from an agricultural expert or a botanist or whatever the word profession is for this. Obviously, Paul Burgess is gone at this point, the GOAT, but I don't really know. I don't understand it. The pitch has been changed like I think 6 times this season or something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And every time they say, oh, there's an international break or we're away from home for this period, this is when we're going to fix it. And every time this is what it looks like. And I was quite frankly, I was actually a little oblivious to it today. I didn't realize because, as you know, at the Bernabeu, you might as well be watching from Google Earth satellite. It's so far. We're so high at pitch. I didn't even know there was a problem with the pitch until everyone's quotes after the game. Asensio was talking about it. Ancelotti was talking about it. So yeah, that seems pretty unacceptable for a club like Real Madrid. A couple quick things, Mehdi. Yeah. Let's blitz through a few, okay? Benzema, another poor one.
Yeah, another poor one. But I'm okay with him being poor again these games if he just turns up in the Champions League nights and in the Copa final. I'm okay with that. Not overly concerned with this because like he was getting at the end of a few opportunities. Like he had that really close header in the second half that the Celta goalkeeper like made a really great save off. So he's getting there. And sometimes I think what Ancelotti said, I think in the previous presser of the in the previous La Liga game, that it's difficult to stay motivated at this stage, which he admitted finally that it's difficult to stay motivated. I don't know how much motivated Benzema is for these games, apart from that, like if he's not really far behind Lewandowski for the Pichichi. So for him, it might be that, yeah, it's like if it goes in, it goes in. I'm just going to turn up in the Champions League game. And that is fine by me. There are like performances I think we shouldn't really overanalyze on these games. Benzema is one of them that we probably shouldn't overanalyze because his track record has been consistent that he might, be poor in these kind of games and then just turn up.
Yeah, obviously that's what you hope. I mean, these games in between are, again, kind of like momentum for him and maybe an incentive to catch Lewandowski, which starting to seem a little unlikely, but who knows. I think with him tonight, I felt like the final decision was poor from him. Sometimes the link up was good, but he takes too long to take the shot, or, he over dribbles it in the box when, he could have just done something more simple. Obviously, his shooting accuracy was off too. All that stuff. What were your thoughts on Tchouameni tonight?
Tchouameni, the only thing I think he has to be a little more aggressive with his passing in Real Madrid's build-up phase. I think this has been a trend with Tchouameni before as well. Overall, I think it was a good performance. Nothing. I didn't see anything that I didn't like very much, anything like that, but it's just a comment that I think in Real Madrid's build-up, it has been a continuous point of discussion with Tchouameni that he takes a little bit more time. Probably he is a bit self-conscious right now because he knows that every move he's making is getting scrutinized just a little bit more, and he has also lost that starting spot in the Gala 11. So he, because of that self-consciousness, he's probably not as sharp or not as quick with his decision making when he's passing. But I think that can be a bit more swift because that kind of holds back Madrid's build up. That kind of like slows down things when the team is probably not looking to slow down things. One thing with Madrid is that we are not really the best team when it's about like making those third man runs, making those off ball runs, barring of like very few situations. Like Benzema is elite in that regard, probably even Vinicius if paired with the right left back. But whenever those runs are, although rare, but they are made, whenever those runs are made, I think Tchouameni has to be a little bit more, smart and swift to take that decision instantly and go for the, more adventurous pass, if I should say, rather than picking the safer option every time.
My bad. I was muted.
Yeah.
It's 2023 and I'm still acting like an old man on Zoom. So I think with him, it's he could be a little bit more daring. It's true. I think tonight there were two passes from him that were really careless and really poor. One in the first half, one in the second half. Both of those passes put us in a really tight spot, and they were forced, and he could have done better. Other than that, I think he was pretty good. He works hard to win the ball in midfield, and he is also, tonight basically just a clear number 6, where he receives the ball in the build-up phase and tries to distribute it cleanly and vertically. And I thought for the most part he was pretty good. A couple more. Vinicius, weird one. Like, he was kind of feeling himself and the Bernabeu like what they saw, but at the same time his dribbling wasn't as efficient as maybe normal. Touches weren't as great as normal. Any thoughts on him?
Vinicius is that player now that even on an off night he'll have a goal or an assist, and which he did again. And I was just, as we were speaking, I was thinking that with Real Madrid, when like last season was weird like this as well, but for an opposite reason. Last season we were so far ahead in the league that during the quarterfinals and the semifinals of the Champions League, the league games kind of stalled like this. And this season it's for the reverse because we're so far behind. But how a player needs to switch on and switch off for these games, the difference in expectations or the difference in the stature of the fixture is immense. That you're playing against Celta for a league that is already done and dusted, and a couple of days later you're playing a Champions League semi-final, although the game is not in a couple of days. So I think Vinicius again was probably, because there was not a lot at stake, I think the performance, the underlying performance can stem from that. But overall, I think absolutely zero reasons to be worried about. Vinicius, however, I think he has a chance to make this season a 20 goals and a 20 assist season. On top of the things that he adds to Real Madrid's offense, and when you insert those numbers, it's insane. It's top 3 in the world. It's Ballon d'Or-esque. So yeah, probably quieter by Vinicius standards, but it's okay for this fixture, I guess.
Yeah. One more, Mehdi.
Yep.
Celta actually had enough chances. I mean, not enough. They did not do much, but there was two really great chances they carved out. One of them was the Aspas chance, which he missed. And then the other one was the Courtois save, which was unbelievable. I didn't see a replay of it, so maybe it wasn't as unbelievable as I saw it in real time from up in the helicopter, up in the sky. But basically, who was it that was shooting that one? Do you remember?
No, I don't have a note for that. Let me check. Courtois saves should have it.
I believe, I don't even know if it would show up on the XG chart, because I don't even know if it counts as a shot, that one, because I don't even think he got the shot out. I don't know, maybe he did. But the player goes around him, and then Courtois beat, and then all of a sudden Courtois remembers oh yeah, I'm a giraffe, I'm Inspector Gadget, and he just all of a sudden his hands come out of nowhere and he stretches and he pulls the ball. Courtois we gotta have the Courtois incredible save segment on the podcast every game. Another unbelievable Courtois performance too.
Yeah, and Celta had expected assists of 1.46 and Real Madrid had 1.93. So although Celta's expected goals were below 1.84, they still they created those couple of chances, as you said, that kind of skewed up the expected assists as well. Again, I would say about Courtois what I said about Camavinga with respect to Vinicius, that we're getting desensitized. These players are doing what would only be the highlight reel of other players, but they're doing it every week, and we've just kind of gotten used to it. And for Courtois, for a big guy to make these kind of saves, it looks even more special, because we know he's not as agile as probably a young Iker Casillas. Casillas was a bit smaller in size, so he was more agile. Even I think Navas was more agile than Courtois, but Courtois has this almost 7 feet frame, but he still comes up with these kind of saves. So just lucky that he is here. And one thing that we often forget, Courtois might be like, for monetary value, Courtois might be the robbery of the century or whatever, after whatever we paid for Cruz, because we got him for like what, 35 million, and Chelsea bought Kepa for like 80 million. So yeah, Courtois is that guy.
If you remember when we signed Courtois, and we signed him for 35, he was seen as a market opportunity that maybe wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
He wanted to live in Madrid with his kids.
Yeah.
And he was not going back to Atletico because Oblak was there. And Real Madrid were like, okay, come here. And it wasn't a fan favorite. No one really was enamored with him, nor did they care for him. They were in love with Keylor Navas. And also, Courtois wasn't that good in his first season. Remember? Like, he was actually heavily criticized.
He was oh, sorry, Ken, you wanted to add something?
No, that's it.
Yeah, so Courtois was obviously, like, his first season was with Lopetegui and Solari, where Lopetegui would play him in the league and Navas in the Champions League. He said like stuff like, I'm here to win the Champions League, and then he wouldn't even get to play in the Champions League. But Solari changed that. And then when Zidane came back, I think in Zidane's first 2 games, he started Navas ahead of Courtois, and everyone thought like, okay, Zidane's back. Navas is a trusted player. This is the end of Courtois. And actually, in his best season, where we suddenly stopped conceding goals altogether in 2019-20, the first half of the season wasn't good for Courtois at all. I think there was that one game where he vomited on the pitch and he wasn't feeling good, so we had to bring Areola in. I think it was a Champions League game, and Areola made like some really great saves in that game. He was passing really well, and people are saying that, all right, maybe we should start this guy over Courtois. But he ended up winning the Zamora that season.
It wasn't even that, Mehdi. It wasn't all Areola, I'll never forget. All he did in that game, I think it was against Club Brugge. He catches the ball in the air with one hand, like he's Michael Jordan, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, we got to start. This is the future. We got to start." R.I.P. the Areola hype train. Like, it lasted about, I don't know, 30 minutes. And how silly does that look now? How silly does that look?
Yeah, and Areola, like, some of the stuff with Areola was, he was still a PSG player on loan from PSG, and I think when PSG beat us 3-0 in Paris, he went to see the PSG players, or like took photos with them, and he was bashed so bad. And from there on, like, he made this kind of a redemption. That was an interesting phase in time. But we have, like, that seems like a lifetime away now. Courtois was excellent throughout since that season, and it's just a blessing to have him as our goalkeeper. And I have in my head, I have no doubt that he's the best goalkeeper in the world, no matter how hyped the other goalkeepers were a bit better on the ball from him. He's really great. I think there was a recent stat and chart that put out that Real Madrid progresses the ball best from goal kicks in all over Europe or something, and among all great goalkeepers, which is like, Courtois has silently improved his ball work as well. So it's just great. I hope he plays for many more seasons.
Yep. Okay, Mehdi, we are going to send people along to part 2 now. We got Castilla Corner coming up. Right. So everyone stick around for that. This is a big moment in Castilla's season, and they definitely did not pass the test today. But the Castilla Corner crew will break that down coming up. Stick around, and then I guess we'll keep you updated. We're doing so many podcasts now, so just keep it locked on this feed and also patreon.com/managingmadrid. Make sure you don't miss anything on either feed. Mehdi, thanks, man. It was a pleasure. Good chatting.
Thanks, Kian.
All right, listeners, here's part 2.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Castilla Corner. My name is Ruben, and I'm here today with Ridiam. How are you, Ridiam?
I'm okay. I just finished watching the worst Castilla performance in weeks, which is a shame. But yeah, otherwise I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, same here. It's a shame because now we're really getting to the end of the season, and every game is so important. As we're speaking now, Alcorcon is playing. I guess I haven't checked the result, but it's going to be so crucial for Castilla. If Alcorcon win now, then it's been a very bad weekend. 3-0 against the Unionistas. Castilla lost away, which is a bit of a surprise, to be honest. That you could say, those who have followed Castilla for a long time know that Castilla are always bad away. But actually, this season, they've been the best away team in at least our group. I don't know if it's the whole division, but at least this group. And then we faced Unionistas, 3-0. How would you sum up the game, Ridium, apart from it being, as you say, not the best game to watch?
As I said, it was the worst game I've watched in weeks. It's not even like the performance. The performance itself was really bad. Castilla made so many lapses in judgment, so many defensive errors, and honestly, every single player could have played better. But it was also the camera angle which made it so difficult to like even follow what's happening. And
yeah, that's the problem that always comes with following Castilla, that you have to watch away games where they have like the camera and the stadium, and yeah, everything is wrong. The pitch usually is not that great either. And this was one of the games. But I think we were a little bit unlucky with the timing here, because Unionistas, I only see the last 5 games now, which they have played. But Unionistas, according to the commentator, I think maybe they changed manager or something, and they were playing badly, but now lately they've been one of the best teams in the league because of their good form. So I think we were a little bit unlucky to face them now. I think if we had faced them at a different part of the season, it would have been much easier. But now they have won 4 in a row. This was the win number 4. And I also think you wrote to me during halftime that it was not the greatest game to watch. And I agree, but at the same time, Castilla did produce quite a bit of chances in the first half. And I thought they were very unlucky not to score in the first half. And then they went down 1-0, and they conceded the second goal just a few seconds after the second half started. And then you could see they lost all hope. But don't you think before halftime, at least we created some chances, no?
Yeah, the first half was definitely better than the second. I did see some chances being created. But, I mean, yeah, there were some good chances, but defensively speaking, and from like the shape of the team, how easily it was for Unionistas to get like their bodies forward, and how easy it was for them to score without even like there wasn't that much happening defensively. That's what I meant by that message I sent. Offensively, they were fine. In the first half, that's it. The second half was just, they were all over the place, but yeah.
And it's also disappointing that Castilla concedes so easily. This is like something that we've seen before. Castilla at the worst, they're very easy to score against, and it doesn't take much to create that big chance, which can be turned into a goal. And 3-0 today, it's not really, does not at all tell the whole story. But I guess if you lose 3-0, then it's difficult to say that you deserve a win. And it's a big blow. This my biggest worry now is that this affects the team mentally, because they have been playing so good for such a long time, and 3-0 here could be hitting their confidence quite hard. I am a little bit scared of that. Also, now we allow Deportivo to maybe get closer, Alcorcon to get ahead, to win the division now. I mean, 5 games to go. What are your thoughts? Is there still hope?
I mean, yeah, there's like 5 games, and I still think there is like hope for them to, you know, it's obviously really slim now because they've lost, but I don't think it's like completely like done and dusted. They're not winning the group. They had a huge chance to win today, which they should have. Yeah, it was like, you know, Unionistas have been good in good form, but Castilla also have been in good form. And I was expecting them to win this game, and Alcorcon currently are drawing their game.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
we should have kind of could have been a good idea to wait a little bit to record the pod, but we have to do it before the Real Madrid first team game started. Yeah. But Alcorcon's 0-0 against Linares right now. I mean, if they draw, it's still they would lead by only 1 point. So, I mean, we shouldn't say it like it's a big crisis, this, but it's just that there's so much competition, and I don't know. I think it's just I think I'm just harmed from the previous Castilla campaigns trying to get promoted. There's always something happening towards the end, either during the playoffs or during a normal game, and this was a bad one. And we have to mention that we were without Alvaro Rodriguez one more time. I have still not seen what's the problem with him. I just read that he's got some pain. So we started yet again with Aranda up top together with Arribas. And what do you think? I actually thought Aranda was great, at least in the first half. He was. I thought he did create a lot of chances by himself.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this. I remember this one chance where he, like, you know, usual Aranda stuff. He got the ball on the left, cut inside, faked a couple defenders, and took the shot, which was really, like, it was a good shot from outside the box. He did stuff like that throughout the game, but in the second half, his influence waned down. Didn't really do much.
The whole team just just collapsed in the second half. Yeah, lost all hope.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed from Arribas, to be honest, as well. The whole team, basically. Like, even the goal, like, I think Mario de Lewis could have done better in the second goal, at the very least. I can't blame him for any of the other goals, but the second, I think he could have done better.
I also think the defending on the first goal was poor.
Oh yeah, it was, and the transition defending, tracking back in the third goal was also.
Yeah.
Really questionable.
Then it was the 85th minute. Everything was lost. So that's not the biggest, but at least the first goal was so unnecessary. With should have stopped him just dribbling so easily through. And now just another good game. But Aranda, as I said, one of the bright spots. Arribas not at his best, unfortunately. Alvaro Martin was back.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm struggling to find many positives today, even though we created some chances, and I would say for a big part of the game, Castilla was the best team. Finding some bright spots here is difficult.
Yeah, I agree. Also, speaking of, not really speaking of it because we weren't talking about it, but going back to the league table, Racing Ferrol, they haven't won in like their last 2 games, but if they win their 2 games in hand, they would take over at least like Castilla would fall down because they have a better goal difference.
It's true. And I would love to find out whether it's the goal difference or it's head-to-head. Usually in Spain it's head-to-head, which decides the same amount of points, but I'm not sure. And I don't really know how to find out, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, regardless, they'd be breathing down our necks, which is not good.
Yeah. There's just so many teams here being a threat. So yeah, I don't know. Let's just wait and see. I don't know. We're gonna continue to the questions in a few seconds, but I don't know what more to mention from this game. To be honest, it's just Poor result, 3-0, does not tell the whole story, but it does give us a hit with our confidence. And now we just have to pray that Alcorcon does not do the job. And look ahead, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one positive, not from the game, but their schedule is, on paper, it's not as bad as it could be, as we've talked about. All the rest of the teams that they face now are either at 10th or below. So it's not, we know Castilla struggle against quote-unquote bad teams, but I mean, if they win all their remaining games, they still have a chance of, assuming Alcorcon slip up.
I think if we win the remaining games, we will win the group. I don't think the other teams are strong enough. I just look at their recent form now. Just Linares, they have a good streak. But apart from that, Castilla is the most informed top team. So I guess we had to expect a defeat at one point. It just what happens next? That's the question. Playing at home in the next game, I guess. Let's just wait and see. Should we just continue to the questions? I don't know if there's much point of dwelling on this game for much more.
Yeah, we can continue with the questions. Alcorcon have also yet to play Deportivo, so that's also something to note.
Yeah.
Let's go with the questions.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got quite a few questions, actually. That's very nice. We're glad to have... and by the way, let's just mention that we can receive questions all the time. It's not just for when we tweet or ask for it specifically. But this time we did ask for it. And I've sorted it by Arribas questions and non-Arribas questions. Because, of course, I guess that's from the outside the most interesting. How is our star player doing? How is Arribas performing? What will happen to him, his future? And Haspin opens with the question, when will Arribas be free from that prison? So Castilla, the prison corner, we can rename our podcast to the prison corner, because apparently Castilla is a prison. I mean, I see where it's coming from. I guess the answer is quite easy, no? I guess when will Arribas be leaving Castilla?
Can you repeat that, sorry?
So when do you think Arribas will leave Castilla?
I mean, I think, like I've talked about before, I think it's going to happen next season. I don't see Arribas staying here for another season. Raul doesn't think he's going to stay for another season, which is not surprising at all. But only it basically confirms that he's going to leave, and which is good, because I think he should play in a top division team, and there are a few good teams which we can talk about later. But yeah, Arribas, I don't think he's going to stay this season, beyond this season.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that this is his last season. I mean, it would be a big decision to stay at Castilla for one more year. I think then I know I argued that maybe it wouldn't be the worst idea if Castilla get promoted, and if he could get a combined role with the first team. But still, it's just seeing him on the Castilla squad list next season as well. It would it doesn't feel right. So I think he sees it the same way. I think the club understands very well if he wants to leave. And the question now is just where. First team is an option, but Marquitos asks, with the season Arribas has displayed so far, he deserves the call-up. But with certain renewals, he won't get the minutes he would want in LaLiga next season. So, looking across the league, which team would be a good fit for Arribas next season? And I'll send this over to you. I'm not an expert on LaLiga, but Do you have any thoughts on? Is there any LaLiga teams or maybe other, in other leagues as well, who fit Arribas for his qualities?
I think Arribas will stay in Spain. I don't see him going to another country. I mean, he could, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't really know that. Like, I don't know what the future holds for Arribas, which team he goes for, which team he goes to. But there are a few good options. I mean, any of the teams that are like, not great, but like also not bad. Those teams, kind of like I don't know if I can say, but I mean, Mallorca might be a decent option. Yeah. Celta Vigo, if what was his name? The player that we're linked to from Celta Vigo.
Vega.
Yeah, if he leaves, and the manager looks at Arribas as an option to, because he's a midfielder, right? I don't necessarily know his role, but I could see him going to Celta Vigo maybe if the manager of this team sees him as a potential replacement for Vega, because they're going to lose a good player if he leaves, and they're going to need a good player to replace him.
I also think we could mention Rayo, no? Because it's another Madrid side, and we have a good relationship with them. The Frank Garcia is not alone, but let's call it alone. They worked very well, and I think one of the biggest, if I were to choose the next club, one of the biggest factors would be the relationship between Real Madrid and the other club. How much can we really trust their word of how much the player is gonna play? And I think Rayo, I don't know. They are in the middle of the table. I think it's a good point you bring up here, that you don't want them to be playing in the relegation zone, because that just means a lot of trouble and risk for sacking the manager and all kinds of stuff. But you also don't want him to play in too good of a side.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was the player? I mean, Rainier, for example, going to Dortmund. I mean, I kind of thought, oh, cool, he's going to Dortmund. He's such a big talent. He will get much playing time. Dortmund is a great club for developing players. But if you choose a level that's just too high, then you end up playing little to nothing. So that's also a big task. So, yeah, maybe one of those clubs which have been mentioned now. I don't know. Could be happening.
Yeah, I think Rayo is a really good option. You just mentioned. They're a good team. I also, Kubo went to Villarreal and he failed, which is also a good point. I think Vallecano, though, they benefit from Arribas. I don't know much about them. I was actually, now that I think about it, I was going to watch them this season, but then I just forgot. I just forgot about them. I couldn't watch them that much, but yeah, Vallecano would be a really good option for Arribas. Yeah.
Not sure if this is interesting enough to bring up, but Rayo Vallecano, they're playing as we speak, but they have 30 games with 10 wins, 10 draws, 10 defeats, goal difference 0. So yeah, at least very balanced club in that regard. But
the table for
all right, yeah. But we cannot rule it out completely that Arribas will stay, and maybe not at Castilla, but I think all of us have a little hope that he could join the first team and get some minutes there. I see it as more and more unlikely with the midfielders that we're linked with, and first and foremost Bellingham, but also the possible contract renewals and Asensio maybe staying. So let's take this question from Osikanji, who asks, can't Arribas replace Asensio, for example, at right wing or as an attacking midfielder when needed? What do you think? Is that a possible role? Would the first team be significantly weakened if we were to change Asensio for Arribas?
I mean, Asensio you know what he brings. You know, he brings a goal off the bench. He brings a banger off the bench.
Yeah.
You don't really know what you get with Asensio, although he's been like more consistent as of late. I'd say he hasn't been as bad as he was last season, in my opinion. But I still don't really. I wouldn't want him to renew, obviously. But at the same time, while I can see Arribas playing the Asensio role, I don't want him to play the Asensio role. It's just because he's not gonna get that many minutes because Rodrigo's role has like gone up way too much, and Valverde also plays at right wing sometimes. I personally don't see Arribas playing that much, which is his top priority, which is the club's top priority, which is why I don't see him staying at Madrid. He could, but I don't see him staying at Madrid. But yeah, if we're just talking about the role, yes, I mean I would take Arribas over Asensio, but I just don't see it happening because of the reasons I just mentioned.
When it comes to the amount of minutes, okay, so let's say a player who plays everything, almost everything, like Vinicius now, he's on 4,000 minutes. And a player like Lucas Vazquez is on 1,000 minutes. While someone in the middle, like Tchouameni, 2,000. Nacho, 2,000. How many minutes do you think would be minimum what Arribas needs to keep developing? And what is the amount of minutes? If 4,000 is the highest, 1,000 is like Lucas Vazquez, 2,000 is Tchouameni, Nacho level. What amount of minutes would you think would be the minimum expected for Arribas?
Now I'm gonna say some amount of minutes. And now I'm gonna say some amount of minutes, and then you're like, Asensio plays the same amount of minutes. I just see it happening. I mean, I think 2,500, 3,000 maybe. I mean, it depends on how good his injury record is, but he should play as much as possible. And I don't see that happening in Madrid because now Asensio is likely renewing. But if he was to take over, he would get minutes, yes. But I would like to see him in a more prominent role, playing more games and stuff than Asensio does. Where are you?
So Asensio has at the moment 1,500 minutes, and okay. I think when I look at this, because I actually looked at this list not too long ago. At the bottom you have Mario Martin, 5 minutes. Arribas, 11 minutes. Alvaro Rodriguez, 47 minutes. Mariano, 51. Odriozola, 81. Vallejo, 88. And then there's a little of a jump to Hazard with 331. Lunin has played a bit because of injury. But I think apart from just Castilla players, and then is there an English word called dead meat? is that a
dead
word?
Wood, yeah.
Dead wood.
Yeah.
No, it's dead meat. But Mariano, Odriozola, Vallejo. So those have not played at all. So unless we expect Arribas to go into that category with those players, I think him getting at least 1,000 minutes would be. I would expect that if he gets into the first team. And he's now part of the squad. He's part of this Real Madrid first team family. Getting at least 1,000 minutes. If Lucas Vazquez has gotten it, I think Arribas should get it as well. And then, apart from that, I think, yes, he should play as much as possible. But I also like the idea, as I mentioned before, of going the Rodrigo route, for example. And Rodrigo, we talked about this. He's been playing a lot because of the lack of options in his position. But I also do think that if Arribas is as good of a talent as we think he is, if you give him 1,000 minutes, 1,500 minutes, and he doesn't get more, it's because he hasn't convinced the coach. And I just think if you want to make it at Real Madrid, if you get 1,000 minutes, then you just have to take your chances. And he did. He did in the Supercopa de España. So, I mean, if he ends up playing, being a part of the first team squad next season, he gets a decent amount of chances and then he just doesn't take them. It's a rough game. Then I just think, okay, we tried. Maybe alone is the best. But I think there's a decent chance of him getting an acceptable amount of minutes, even if Ancelotti stays next season. So I don't think it's a super bad choice to stay.
But at the same time, I mean, because we know, I mean, we don't really know, but like, you know, it might happen. Asensio might renew, right? So if he does renew, then you have Rodrigo, Asensio, and Arribas, and even Valverde sometimes fighting for the same position.
All right, let's jump to the next question while you're starting at this, because we also got this question from Osikanye. He also asks, should we have Asensio, Arribas, and Brahim Díaz? He also mentions, who is also possible to return, all in one team. Asensio, Arribas, and Brahim Díaz. Is this why the board wants Arribas on loan? So I guess that's what you started to answer, that the competition will be tough.
Yeah, the competition would be pretty tough. I mean, he's not even mentioning Rodrigo, who's actually the starter. So
yeah, and Valverde, and it's not gonna be easy.
Yeah, it's not gonna be easy. I think Arribas going on loan or like as a salon clause, but at the same time, it needs to be the right team. It's so important for it to be the right team. If he goes on a salon clause with the wrong team, it's hell for everyone involved. But
I mean, this is this Arribas Asensio situation. This is one of the reasons why, still after Asensio scoring all these goals, even against Chelsea, and his average is better than ever. I think his average is better than ever, much better than ever, actually. Mm. Even with that situation, I just feel like it's so. We know his level. We know his. We know his strengths, we know his weaknesses, but we also know that he is good enough that the coach will hesitate to put, for example, a player like Arribas ahead of him. So this is my biggest problem with Asensio, that he steals minutes, which I would like to give to players like Arribas.
I've been saying the same thing for I don't know how many years now. I think. I don't think we should renew Asensio. I think we should renew, obviously we're renewing Modric and Cruz. We should renew Ceballos. And apart from that, I don't think we should renew Asensio. And if you don't renew Asensio, there's a bigger chance of Arribas playing for the first team, which would be great. As he wouldn't get as many minutes. Like he wouldn't still get 2,000 minutes, but. It's better than what he'd get if Asensio is still in the squad. That's what I mean. And he, in my opinion, would become eventually the better player between the two. So, I mean, Asensio does see minutes. I agree. And if he was to leave, I would see a bigger chance of Arribas staying. But even then, I think Arribas might still want to, move to a team where he would get better minutes. But that's still it's still better than having Asensio, if Brahim still comes back and you have him, that's even worse for Arribas.
Yeah, if Brahim comes back, then it's over for Arribas. Then I think it's also difficult to see him returning. Then I guess it's and that would be a shame. That would be a shame because he's the biggest talent coming out of the Cantera in a while, and I would love to see him. Be given a chance. At the same time, I will understand the club if they. I mean, from the club's perspective, you always have to choose what's best for what will increase the chances of the club getting results at short term and long term. And I would admit short term, just looking at next season, for example. Do you choose Asensio in the squad or do you choose Arribas? Of course, Asensio is the safer choice. Asensio scored. Wasn't he the I saw the stat that he's the substitute in the Champions League with the most goals in the history of the competition. It's a crazy stat. I think so. But yeah. Anyway, which means that it's a bit naive maybe to expect Arribas to come in straight away next season and have the same impact. But what is Arribas' potential? That's the thing. Can we compare 3 years with Asensio being given minutes for the first team versus 3 years of Arribas getting minutes? And then I think it's a discussion whether the club is better off with Asensio or with Arribas. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm assuming it's going to end up with some kind of a departure.
Yeah. I would love Arribas to succeed at Madrid, but if Asensio stays, I don't see it happening.
No,
not at the moment, at least.
Let's jump to the next question from Big Mac. And I actually had to laugh a little bit when I saw this question because I actually thought we had talked almost too much about this guy. But what's the update on Peeters' development? I feel like we're always mentioning him. I feel a bit guilty almost that I'm sometimes mentioning him too much in a negative way. But Big Mac asks, what's the update on Peeters' development? He was once the shining light. All we hear now is about Arribas, and deservedly so. Maybe he's pointing to the media because in that regard, Peter is getting no attention. And so how will we sum up Peter's development then?
This season's kind of been like a rocky road for Peter. I mean, he started off really weird, I think. And then he just went on to have a few good games, and then he'd have some games where he's benched, and then he'd play out of position like he did today at right wing back. But I mean, as I said last time, from a winger playing as a right wing back, I wouldn't expect that much from Peter. And he did okay, but I mean, his ceiling, if he keeps playing at so many different positions, I just don't really see him him fulfilling his potential that everyone thought he had 2 seasons ago, because he doesn't have consistency in any position. So one day he's playing left wings, one day he's playing right wing, one day he's playing right wing back, one day he's playing in a central position, which he did for a couple games. It just doesn't. I just don't know. I mean, if he gets a prominent role and he gains some consistency, both in terms of position played and in performances, then yes, maybe he'd become what we thought he would, or at least somewhere close to it. But as of now, don't really see that happening. He'd still be a decent squad player, I guess, at some point, but I don't see him being a great, if that makes sense.
I think maybe, let's see if you agree with this.
Okay.
Could it maybe happen that the way Raul has used him has decreased his maximum potential, but maybe increased his chances of succeeding in general? Because I think if you're a Bayern club now looking at him and you see that, okay, he's played at the right wing and left wing, which would be his natural positions, but he's also played left back, left wing back, left right back, left right. No,
that's okay.
right wing back, left wing back, central midfield, right wing, left wing. I mean, he's been playing all over the place. If I'm the manager of an opponent and I'm thinking of signing him, I think, this could be a guy who could be used in many different positions. He could be very useful. He's a hardworking player, and I mean, I think maybe the chance of someone seeing him the way Simeone changed the position of Marcos Llorente. I mean, if some other club sees that, okay, we need left wing back, and he could be a good fit. I think he could do a good job as a left wing back. But if we talk about his maximum potential, then I think we don't expect the same as maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I think I agree with what you said. His versatility will definitely help him in the future, but at the same time, he's playing in a third division club right now, and out of position. He hasn't been he's been okay, but he hasn't been great, so to speak.
Yeah.
If he plays, for example, I don't think he's gonna play in a first division club at this point. Even I don't see him playing for I don't even know. Let's see, for Elche. No, not Elche. I mean Almeria as a left wing. But I don't see it happening right now. But I mean things could improve obviously, and adding this versatility to his toolbox definitely helps. And I think that we'll see just how good or bad he is next season if he stays, because if Castilla get promoted, that is, and because then he'd potentially be playing out of position in a second division team. So against second division teams, you'd see how good he can be, how many times he gets punished, how many times he gets comes out on top. So his ceiling would definitely be defined by that. But yes, I agree, his floor has definitely gone up.
But at the same time, never say never. I think I mentioned Victor Chust as an example earlier, a player who was not starting for Castilla. Suddenly, he I think one or two players left, and then he got a starting role. And from there, he was sold to Cadiz, and I don't think he's the starter anymore, but he started the season, I think, as their first choice center back. So I've seen a lot of different weird cases with Castilla players jumping from the third level and up to LaLiga and suddenly playing just as well there as with Castilla. So I mean, never say never, but I pretty much agree with what you said.
Yeah.
So next question is from Paul. Hey guys, I listened to your last pod, and on the topic of Iker Bravo, I think it was an anonymous decision that he disappointed this season. However, would it be wise to sign him permanently and hopefully get to see his full potential once he figures it out in the future? So Iker Bravo got some minutes today off the bench. What do you think about this question?
He was very disappointing this season, and it, just like you said with Victor Chust, it could be a case with him being he is really highly rated by many teams. He was, and he could still become a good player for another good team, and he could play at a good level when teammates around him are better than they are right now, I guess. But no offense to Castilla players, obviously, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, to sign him permanently and hopefully get to see his full potential, that's I mean, I would say that if I had seen glimpses of potential from him, I don't remember. You know what? I mean, he might have played well at the start of the season, but to be very honest, I don't remember him being all that great at any point of the season. He might have had a couple of games. I don't remember them. So if I had seen maybe a few good games from him, a few really good games, you know what? He's unlucky, or he played well, or he was at least involved, then I would say, you know what? Maybe signing him on a permanent basis might help him out. We might see him with the first team, might see how he plays, and hopefully that helps him. But right now, I don't see that happening. Saying that, I mean, Castilla are probably signing him on loan again for next season. So I guess. Yeah.
That's a rumor that you posted in the chat earlier today that the club has decided to keep him, or that the negotiations are advanced or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I was a bit surprised because I was sure that we got him on a 2-year loan and that we had an option to buy at the end. So I'm a bit surprised that there has to be any negotiations at all. But, these are just rumors. But I do remember at the very start of the season, I thought Iker Bravo, he looked all right. I think I saw why they had signed him, and I also remember me and Chris, we watched one of his games in Madrid from the stadium, and I remember we were talking about it in the pod afterwards, that he seemed to have a killer instinct. He was shooting the ball up to the stands because he was so angry, and I mean he had a fighter in him, and I thought I've seen, from what I've seen with Castilla, from what I've seen before, I can see that, he's got some pretty good link-up play. I mean, he's pretty strong. I can see he can head the ball. I mean, I just think he has been unlucky with the competition because Alvaro Rodriguez has just been so great. But then there must be something behind the scenes. There must be something, because the fact that he's getting this few opportunities must mean that there's something going on. It's not just the sporting version, or maybe it's just not performing in training. I don't know. But I think if we get the price low enough, I would gamble on it, and I would at least try to keep him for the next season, and then we will see.
Yeah, if the price is low enough, then yeah, I mean, I definitely should have mentioned that. Yeah, but this guy also said something else, and like in the replies, I just checked it out.
Mm-hmm.
He says that I feel like there's a quality player there, one that can be useful in the first team if he reaches his potential, a starter for a top club in the top 5 league. I'm high on him because, again, there was a unanimous agreement that his kid has a big future when at Leverkusen. Plus, I feel like Alvaro might go to the first team. This may give Bravo the playing time and continuity needed to improve. He offers a different profile than Alvaro, which is more for the first team. I feel like he has that dog in him. Sorry for
maybe is that what maybe what I was talking about, that
that's exactly
if I understand if I understand the expression correctly. So I mean, I think he's got some good points here, and as he said, he was such a I don't think we remember how highly rated he was when we signed him. It was like, wow, how did we get him? Is he really going to play for Castilla? And I mean, it was like, I remember seeing this lineup of all of the most talented players in Spain, Spanish players. They lined them up. It was under 17 players, under 19 players, under 21 players, and he was in that lineup. So he was really highly rated. And as has been mentioned several times on this podcast, for example, by Omvarvin and Kian, the development is not linear. Oh, this is difficult. Linear?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very much willing to have patience with him, and it's a very good point that he comes with here. Alvaro might go to the first team. This could be the chance for Bravo. New coach, probably. A lot of things could happen. So I would be a bit sad to see him go already.
Yeah, I was going to mention, before reading the reply to that tweet, I was going to mention Alvaro not being in the playing for Castilla that much. I mean, he would still play, but I don't think he would play that much. So that could mean something for Iker Bravo. And as you said, the change of managers, maybe Arbeloa prefers him more than Raul did, I guess. I mean, we never know. Yeah. He never got that continuity, which is true. But at the same time, when he did get the opportunity, he wasn't really that great.
No,
but definitely could change.
Could also be luck. He's still a very young player, so I'm sure he needs confidence. He needs to get going, and then let's see. But I hope that he stays one more season, and then if he has another bad season, then I guess it's better to just let him go.
Yeah, one more season is probably the safest bet that we could play.
Yeah. All right, so Mendy asks, well, at first he says, big Castilla Corner fan here. Well, that's good to hear. I didn't know we had too many fans, but that's nice to hear. So Mandeep asks, should Raul just stay if Castilla gets promoted? It seems very likely that Paulo is staying for one more season. Wouldn't it be best for all parties for Raul to manage in the second division and potentially take over in the summer of 2024? Interesting question.
I would like you to answer first.
I think it would be fantastic for the club. First of all, I mean, getting a promotion would be the best part of this. But even if we, promotion or not promotion, if we could get Raul to stay for one more year, I mean, wow, that would be great for the club. If I'm going to be selfish, talking from the club's perspective, getting Raul to stay for Castilla, would be great. Could also then stay with Arbeloa for one more year, and the Cantera would be in great hands. But I see little to no reason for Raul to stay. I guess again the promotion aspect is he could be trying himself at a higher level, but I don't think going up from the third to the second division, I don't think it's enough for Raul to stay. So I don't think it's going to stay. He asks, wouldn't it be best for all parties? I think it would be best for all parties except for Raul to stay. Unless we think that Ancelotti will leave next summer and that Raul will get his chance. I mean, in that case, he must have gotten the promise at least 2 times. So I'm not sure if he trusts it anymore. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I like it. As you said, it would be really good for Castilla if he stays, but Raul has stayed for long enough at Castilla. I don't see him staying for one more season, regardless of where Castilla play next season. If it's in the second division or in the third, I don't see Raul being the manager because, frankly, I mean, Raul loves the club, but he also wants to make it as a top manager, doesn't he? So I don't think staying at Castilla would help.
But can I ask you, would it hurt?
What do you mean?
Because, I mean, for a player, let's say for Arribas to stay one more season, he would be, 22 at the end of the next season. That would be a big decision because a player needs development. Is it as important for a coach? A young coach is still just 45. Is it that important for him? Will another year hurt him and his opportunities?
I mean, it would. It's not that important because the age factor isn't really that important here. But at the same time, staying at a third division team or even a B team for a big team for as long as Raul has.
Yeah, it would have been 5 years. No, if
he stays for another season, it would be 5 years.
Yeah,
which is just a lot, and that's just why I don't see it happening. And I think Raul has higher aspirations, and if he gets a good offer, because he's shown that he's a good manager, if he gets a good offer from another team, I think he will leave. I don't see him staying.
It must be a little bit of a frustrating situation for Raul because I think, let's just look at, for example, Xabi Alonso. What are the chances of him becoming a Real Madrid manager? He's still young, yeah, I know. But let's say Alonso had stayed. Let's say Alonso was the coach of Castilla instead of Raul. And next summer, this summer, Ancelotti leaves. Then you have such a great chance of becoming the Real Madrid manager. So if that's your goal, to become the manager of Real Madrid, then staying at Castilla will, I think, increase your chances. I think the minute you walk out the door, Raul becomes the Schalke manager or something. It almost doesn't matter how well he performs. Once you're outside the club, I believe you get compared to other managers in another way that you didn't before. when you are a Castilla manager, it's like what do you say?
I'm sorry, go on. I just said you get looked at first, and then you get the other managers are considered.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, you didn't ever have the chance to win trophies. You just had a chance to play with these kids at a difficult level, a senior level, difficult job. But once you take a step outside, the club can compare you to Pochettino, to Tuchel, to Nagelsmann. It feels like that's the way it's happening. And so if Raul really wants this job, I would think he could. I think just because Ancelotti, that's not a long-term option. I think we all know, even I, as one of the biggest Ancelotti fans, I know that Ancelotti is not going to be here in 5 years. Probably not even 3 to maybe not even 1 year. So in that case, it's all about how much patience does Raul have. Yeah. I don't think the Schalke jobs will be going anytime soon. But I think the Real Madrid train possibly is only going for him when Ancelotti leaves. Possibly.
Yeah. Do you think, like, okay, I completely different question because I've already answered my I've given my take on it, but do you not think Xabi Alonso could ever return? Do you think he would become the manager of Madrid, or?
I think he could, but I think he would so he's had a good start. Now he's going to play, isn't it the semi-final against the Mourinho in the Europa League? So, I mean, those things, makes him have better opportunities. But at the same time, I just feel like he now has to do so much more. Zidane, Raul, they have the chance of stepping up from Castilla directly to the first team. I think if Xabi Alonso goes to manage, let's just say, Liverpool, that's maybe a bit too much, but I don't know, Dortmund.
Okay.
He's almost there with his current club. So, and then he succeeds there. I mean, he's getting closer, but I do think that he needs to prove himself at a high level. I don't think right now that he's in a good position to get the job.
I mean, there were still rumors that Xabi Alonso will be considered. I mean, there are rumors at the end of the day, but I think that him being a Madrid legend and him performing as well as he is at Leverkusen gives him an advantage over some other managers. Obviously, he's not as experienced, but he is gaining that experience right now. And Raul is not gaining that experience. But if you think about it, Raul, if he manages Madrid right now, is not as experienced. I mean, obviously he's played the game for so long, he knows what it is. But as a manager, he's not experienced, right?
By the way,
go on.
Yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, Xabi Alonso at the moment, he's doing really well. I watch Leverkusen as much as I'm able to, and he's been doing really well. And the team has won 7 games in 8 or something like that, and he's been really good. And I would really love him to become the manager of Madrid one day, and I do see it happening at some point. It just depends on how well he does.
Yeah, but I just have to point out that when I spoke from the club's perspective, because I actually think it's kind of a stupid idea that once you leave the club, then it's difficult to get back, because I would see it as valuable experience which Xabi Alonso has. I think he's better suited than what Raul is.
Of course,
Xabi Alonso being at at Europa League level is much better than being at the Primera RFF level.
Exactly.
So from a rational perspective, I think it's good to have Alonso getting some experience, but just knowing the club, I think it's either going with one of your own from Castilla or going big.
Yeah.
Not in between.
Yeah.
And just to lastly to point out how much he's been left out of the picture. when I look at the list of the managers with the most, with the lowest, the lowest odds, the bookmakers, who do the bookmakers think are the most likely candidates? I don't know if there's 20 names on this list. Xabi Alonso is not there. So obviously I think that's wrong from them. But it says a lot that he's not even on the list. While Klopp, Deschamps, Conte, they are there. I think this list is not correct, but it says a lot that he's not even making the list.
Yeah, but I mean, when we talk about actual rumors, not saying Xabi Alonso is going to be the next manager of Madrid, I don't actually see it happening right now. I just see it happening at some point in the future. But yeah. I mean, Madrid would still consider, I think that, Xabi Alonso is one of our own. He's been doing well. He's gaining the plaudits from everyone around him. He's doing really well for the team that he's managing. And who knows, he might even win, the Europa League. I don't know if he will. I want him to, personally. That
would be a big trophy for him, yeah.
That would be insane. In his first season, not even a full season, and he won the Europa League with the team that was on the boundaries of relegation.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
That's incredible. I would love for that to happen, but it's really tough beating Roma right now, who are third in the league, and then beating, was it either Juventus or Sevilla? It's going to be really tough, but it's not impossible. He's in the semis for a reason, and he's doing really well. It's not just, him being, a possession-dominant football manager. No, he can change his playing style. He's flexible. He's really good, in my opinion, and he's going to become a really good manager. And I would love for him to manage Madrid at some point.
Yeah. I still haven't really gotten over the way he left us back in 2014, but of course, I still think it would. I still think it would be. I still think it would be very good to see him. It would be nice to see him as a Real Madrid manager, and as you say, it all depends on how well he performs in the future. Yeah. All right, a couple of questions left, and the first one. When I see it on the list, the writing gets a bit messed up. But from B. Mulalal, if Castilla get promoted, firstly, how would the squad be constructed if both Arribas, Totor, Rafa Marin, Alvaro Martin, Pedro Federico, and Oscar Aranda all leave the club? How would the squad be constructed? And how possibly could they be replaced? And maybe would something continue? What do you think? First, do you think any of these players could continue?
I mean, I don't see everyone leaving. I think Dotor, Alvaro Martin, and Peter could still continue. I think Rafa Marin
Dotor has played for a while though, hasn't he? But maybe he's loyal enough.
I just see him playing for another season. I don't know why. Maybe for another season. I mean, it's the chances are slim, but I think Dotor still has a chance. Rafa Marin would probably ask to leave.
Yeah.
Alvaro Martin could stay, and Peter Federico, I think, will stay. Oscar Aranda, how long has he been around for?
I'm actually not sure.
Let me check.
But let me look it up.
I'm checking.
I think, I mean, he's one of the players he's been around, and for the under teams, and he's got the name. Couple of years?
Yeah.
What do you say? A couple of years?
Yeah, 2021 it says. He might stay for one more season because you have to look at the ceiling of every player. Like, Aranda might not ever play for a top. Like, he might play for a top division team, but the chances are not as high as Rafa Marin, for example. So he might consider staying for another season in Castilla, looking if they get promoted, obviously.
Yeah.
But replacing them, I'm not really sure. I mean, if Castilla make it, like, the question assumes that they get promoted, right? So I think Castilla will be heavily invested in. There are going to be some players that join the club. Join the team, and then I think there will be some some sort of investment, because we haven't seen that much. We saw a lot this season, I guess, with Iker Bravo, Noah Lopez, stuff like that.
And also, I need to stress that we don't even need to sign that many players because we have great talents at Juvenil as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like Nico Paz would get a prominent role with Castilla now that Arribas is definitely going. Nico Paz will. I think he came on today, didn't he?
Yeah, he came on. I don't know how many minutes, but he did not start. No,
he didn't. He didn't start. He wasn't really. I mean, as a sub, didn't really do much, and he could get a prominent role for Castilla next season. Who knows? Maybe departure of.
Yeah, he's one of the players who he could still be playing for the under-19s, and you also have Manuel Angel, who's a very high-rated player for the under-19s, and I mean you have Nico Paz, as we mentioned, and you have for example Gonzalo, he's a good player. You have Yussi, you have the Jimenez right backs. So there's a lot of good players at the Juvenil. So I'm not that worried about Castilla. I mean, it will be a shame to see a lot of players leave. I will expect a lot of players to leave, but I think we'll be good. Yeah. We need to speed up a little bit because the first team game is starting very soon. But lastly, from Andreas, thoughts on what happened with Sergio Díaz, Abner, and Mink? That's you told me you wanted me to answer that question because have you heard of them?
I know Sergio Díaz. I don't know.
Yeah. Mink. I mean, they just didn't work out. Abner, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. He was a fullback, and he got a big injury. He's also actually 26 now, playing in Farense, which is this is a Brazilian club, I guess. Portuguese. So he's playing in Portugal, not that great. He's been on a few loans, and same with Sergio Díaz and also with Mink. It's they haven't had great careers. Maybe one podcast we can go in more into detail about how it's going with them. But Sergio Díaz is playing for Cerro Porteño, and Mink Peeters. He recently gave an interview. He is. I'm not sure if he even has a club now. I don't remember actually. We need to ask Sam what it was. What's the deal about him? But yeah. Last club is which is written here is FC Volendam. So he has played little to nothing lately, according to this list. So yeah, but some fun names, some names that I haven't heard in a very long time. All highly rated in their time, so I understand why he brings them up. But unfortunately, that's what happens to talents sometimes.
Yeah, you know what they say. It all goes downhill once you leave Madrid Castilla.
Yeah, exactly. And also, let's end this on a high note because Alcorcón played 0-0 against Linares Deportivo, which means that they are just 1 point ahead of us. And yes, it was bad defeat for us. But now, at least, we're just 1 point behind Alcorcón, who continue their tough streak now. They've had just one win in the last 5. So, yeah, at least, let's leave on a high note. Not that bad of a weekend after all, even though it's a horrible defeat. Still just 1 point behind Alcorcón.
Yeah. Could have been worse. Could have been better. I mean, if we'd won, we'd be top of the table. But sometimes. Sometimes it's just how it goes. I guess you take it and run. That they didn't win, and there's no 3-point deficit. So yeah.
Let's look at it from a bright perspective. But first team players are about to enter the field, so we need to finish this. I'm very strict when it comes to the first team Real Madrid. I need to always watch it. I need to watch them alone, and I need to concentrate. And I have this little ritual, so I know I don't So no podcasting during first team games. That's the truth.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the conversation, Rydian.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to all of our listeners for the questions and just for listening in general. Just keep the questions coming. Of course, if you have anything more that we didn't answer. But this was all for today. So thank you all. And until next time, a la Madrid.
A la Madrid.